They tried to write you off. They whispered your name in rooms you never entered, plotting to erase your presence, to silence your impact. But what they failed to understand is this: you are not just another name. You are chosen, destined, marked for something far greater than their schemes could ever contain. Every word spoken against you, every attempt to discredit your journey, is about to backfire in ways they never saw coming. The spotlight they tried to steal, it's shining on you. The doors they slammed shut, they're swinging open. The whispers they spread, they're turning into echoes that amplify your name. Stay locked in. Stay unshaken. You're stepping into a moment where every attempt to bury you only proves how unstoppable you truly are. Divine justice is moving, and soon, the same ones who doubted you will be forced to watch you rise. The unraveling of deception is not a slow erosion, but a sudden, undeniable collapse. What was once whispered in secrecy is now a proclamation of exposure, stripping away all pretense. When falsehoods are sown with intent, they do not merely wither, they recoil upon those who crafted them, dismantling their very foundation. The moment deception is met with truth, its architects find themselves ensnared in their own web, unable to escape the weight of their own duplicity. They are not undone by an external force, but by the very weapons they wielded. Every spoken lie becomes a blade turned inward, every plotted downfall an open door to their own ruin. Their credibility disintegrates, not through retaliation, but through the force of justice itself, proving that nothing built on deception can stand in the face of revelation. It is not destruction for the sake of vengeance, but the natural consequence of truth making itself known. What was designed to discredit instead amplifies. What was meant to weaken only fortifies. The opposition is left without ground to stand on, as every attempt to undermine becomes an unshakable testament to the resilience it sought to erase. History does not forget those who sought to manipulate justice, nor does it ignore the inevitable reversals that follow. The downfall of tyrants, the exposure of deceivers, the ruin of those who build their thrones upon falsehood. These are not rare occurrences, but consistent patterns woven into time. The one who believes themselves untouchable, who orchestrates the fall of another, often finds that they have merely constructed the means of their own collapse. Even in the grandest of schemes, history has witnessed their undoing. The same tactics meant to erase a name only engrave it deeper into the annals of time. No matter how meticulously they weave their strategies, the truth carves its own path, reversing the tide, toppling the statues built on sand. What seems like an inevitable victory for deception is always undone by a greater force, reminding the world that no scheme outlives justice. Endurance is not merely surviving the storm, but emerging from it as the very proof of its failure. The trials, the rejection, the opposition, each becomes a defining mark of unwavering resolve. In the face of resistance, those who stand firm transform obstacles into stepping stones. The adversities meant to silence instead become echoes of triumph, amplifying the voice they sought to suppress. It is not through rage or retaliation that victory is secured, but through persistence so unshakable that even the fiercest storms cannot erase its impact. The legacy of those who refuse to be diminished is written not in the words of their detractors, but in the undeniable proof of their endurance. The time for hesitation has passed. Justice is not delayed, nor is it uncertain. It is an unstoppable force, a verdict written before the first accusation was spoken. If you recognize this truth, if you stand unyielding in the certainty that no force can undo what has been destined, then declare it. Let it be known. Comment below. I ascend, they collapse. And if you seek to strengthen your insight, subscribe to Astral Atom and activate notifications, because every moment forward is a revelation waiting to unfold. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. A shadow can never overtake the light, no matter how dark it tries to be. You can build walls to keep the truth out, but eventually the cracks form and light breaks through. And deception. Deception is nothing more than a shadow pretending to be substance. It creeps in silently, slipping between words, twisting reality just enough to make lies sound like truth. It moves like a slow poison, seeping into conversations, shaping the way people see without them even realizing it. It's not the loud accusations that do the most damage. It's the subtle suggestions, the offhand comments, the quiet misrepresentations that go unchallenged. Because the enemy doesn't need an army to destroy you, just a whisper in the right ear. That's how credibility is undermined. That's how relationships are broken. That's how confusion spreads. Before you even realize what's happening, the atmosphere shifts, and you're standing in the middle of a battle you never asked for. And this battle, it doesn't just show up in one area of your life. It follows you everywhere. It sneaks into your friendships, your workplace, even your spiritual walk. It's designed to make you question yourself, to make you feel like you're constantly defending your name against accusations you never heard directly. You weren't even in the room when they spoke against you, but you feel the weight of their words pressing against your reputation. But here's the thing about deception. It tells you more about the person using it than the one being attacked. A lie is the weapon of the weak, a tool for those who can't stand on truth. They don't slander because you are wrong. They slander because they fear what you represent. They manipulate because they can't compete with authenticity. They spread confusion because clarity exposes them. But let me remind you of this. Deception is always temporary. It may spread fast, but it never lasts, because a lie needs maintenance. It needs constant reinforcement. It needs people willing to keep it alive. But truth stands on its own. It doesn't need defenders. It doesn't need spin. It doesn't need manipulation. And when the light of truth finally shines, deception crumbles under its own weight. The very words used against you will turn back on those who spoke them. The traps they set will become the pits they fall into. The lies they built will become the cages that confine them. Because deception is always a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. They thought they were digging a grave for you, but they were only preparing their own downfall. So stand firm. Don't waste your energy chasing down rumors, trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The truth will speak for itself, and when it does, there won't be a single thing they can do to stop it. Drop "Their lies can't stop my purpose" in the comments if you know this is your season of revelation. Let them talk. God is already handling it. Manipulation follows a script, one designed to destabilize, confuse, and isolate. It does not rely on blatant falsehoods alone, but on careful distortions, half-truths, exaggerated details, and misplaced narratives that seem plausible enough to be believed. The goal is not just to deceive, but to influence, to tilt perspectives in favor of the manipulator. These tactics work to weaken confidence, to plant uncertainty, to turn allies into skeptics. History has seen this cycle unfold countless times. Deception thrives for a moment, but its longevity is fragile. Those who weave intricate plots to discredit others often find themselves caught in their own snare. Even the most meticulous schemes crumble under the force of exposure. What was meant to control the narrative instead highlights the very desperation behind it. The foundation of manipulation is unstable, built not on truth, but on the shifting sands of fabrication. And no structure, no matter how carefully constructed, can withstand the force of inevitable collapse. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, it's time to answer it. By clicking the join button, you unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community ready to walk this journey with you. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening, a chance to step fully into your divine purpose and claim the path meant for you. Don't wait. Step forward. Join the chosen. Strength is not found in retaliation, but in resilience. Lies are meant to shake confidence, to redirect focus, to create doubt, but they cannot dictate the future. They may stir the waters, but they cannot alter the course of destiny. The most powerful response is not to fight deception with anger, but to render it powerless through unwavering truth. Attempts to discredit only emphasize authenticity. Efforts to suppress only amplify purpose. Opposition is not the end of the story. It is the prelude to undeniable vindication. Now is the moment to stand in unshakable certainty. Deception is a strategy that cannot outlast integrity, and slander holds no power over a destiny that is already set in motion. Declare it now. I rise above falsehood. Let it be written, let it be known. And if you are ready for more revelations that sharpen your vision, subscribe to Astral Atom, because every truth unveiled is another step forward. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. Imagine a blacksmith forging a blade, hammering it into shape over the fire, believing he's crafting a weapon strong enough to take you down. But what he doesn't realize is that the very fire meant to sharpen his weapon is only refining you. What was designed to wound you is being reshaped, repurposed, and redirected, not to destroy you, but to elevate you. Because when God's hand is on your life, the enemy's best attack is still beneath his authority. Opposition does not come at random. It strikes at the most pivotal moments. Right when you're standing on the edge of breakthrough, resistance rises like a storm, meant to throw you off course. Doors that seemed open suddenly feel heavy. Unexpected obstacles appear, demanding attention, pulling you away from what truly matters. This is not just a test, it's a tactic. It's a calculated attempt to drain your strength, to steal your focus, to make you question if you were ever meant to step into the next level. And while the battle rages around you, something else happens. The people you thought were in your corner start pulling away. Not because they changed, but because the attack is strategic. Conversations feel different. Trust seems fragile. Relationships that once felt unshakable start shifting under the weight of unseen deception. It's like watching shadows stretch longer at sunset, turning the familiar into something distant, something unfamiliar. You feel it in your spirit. This isn't just human error, this is spiritual interference. But here's the revelation you need to catch. Every move against you is only proof of what's ahead. The enemy doesn't waste energy on someone going nowhere. If resistance is pressing in, it's because there's a destiny too great for it to ignore. The attack is confirmation. You're stepping into something so significant that opposition had no choice but to try and stop it. Let me tell you this, the plan against you will not succeed. It may shake things up. It may stir confusion. It may make you feel like you're walking through a season of uncertainty, but it cannot change what has already been written about you. The betrayals, the misunderstandings, the distractions, none of them have the authority to rewrite what heaven has already ordained. The strategy of the enemy is to isolate you, to make you believe you're standing alone. But that's the biggest deception of all, because God never allows a setback without setting up something greater. The very thing that was meant to break you will be the thing that builds you. The season that was designed to silence you will become the foundation of your next victory. So hear this now. The storm is not your ending, it's your repositioning. What was meant to separate you is only clearing the space for what's truly meant to remain. What was meant to scatter you is only shaking loose the things that can't go with you into your next level. And when the dust settles, when the confusion clears, when the voices of deception fade away, you will still be standing, because you are chosen, you are appointed, and no scheme, no lie, no attack can undo what has already been declared over your life. Drop a "they can't stop me" in the comments if you know this message is for you. Your breakthrough isn't coming, it's already in motion. For centuries, storytelling has illuminated the nature of betrayal and illusion. Deceit operates like a sculptor, shaping perception through manipulation rather than truth. Once a falsehood is whispered, it spreads through unseen currents, taking form in the minds of those ready to believe it. Yet deception is not sustained by its own strength, but by human nature itself. Biases, insecurities, and fears make fertile ground for distortion to thrive. Many do not seek the truth. They seek confirmation of what they already suspect. A fabricated claim that aligns with an existing belief is welcomed without question, reinforcing illusions rather than dismantling them. There is also the force of conformity. People rarely challenge the prevailing opinion, preferring the comfort of agreement over the discomfort of dissent. Even those who sense falsehood often remain silent, unwilling to stand apart. And then there is reflection, the tendency to project one's own flaws onto another, mistaking personal struggles for external realities. Those quick to believe deception often do so not because it exposes another, but because it unknowingly exposes them. The nature of a lie is not its strength, but the willingness of others to give it space to exist. Truth does not need defenders. It stands unshaken, eroding deception, not through force, but through endurance. Falsehoods may gain ground for a time, but their foundation is weak and their longevity is limited. When faced with resilience, distortion crumbles and clarity is restored. The perception of others does not dictate reality. Declare now, I rise above deception and witness the unraveling of every falsehood, every distortion, every illusion designed to stand in the way. There is no wavering. Purpose cannot be rewritten by lies. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Matthew 7:24. A house without a solid foundation will crumble at the first sign of a storm. It might look sturdy on the surface, its walls standing tall, its windows shining bright. But when the winds rise, when the rain beats down, when the ground begins to shake, it falls. Not because of the storm itself, but because it was never built to withstand it. And so it is with the mind that lacks discernment. If there is no depth, no anchor in truth, then deception finds easy entry. Falsehoods don't need to be convincing. They only need an open door. We live in a time where truth is no longer sought, only accepted if it fits a pre-made mold. People aren't looking for wisdom. they're looking for validation. And when validation becomes more important than truth, deception thrives. They don't question what they hear. They absorb it. They don't seek clarity. They conform. And before they realize it, they've become soldiers in a battle they don't even understand, defending lies as if they were gospel, attacking those who dare to challenge the narrative. And this isn't just personal, it's cultural. Entire societies are built on fragile illusions, where perception matters more than reality, where the loudest voice drowns out the wisest one, where status is built not on character, but on who can tear down the most people in the shortest amount of time. Gossip becomes a currency. Slander becomes a strategy. The need to belong becomes stronger than the need to be right. And truth is thrown aside like an old garment, discarded when it no longer serves the agenda of the moment. But hear me today. The truth doesn't die just because people refuse to see it. It doesn't fade because it's unpopular. It doesn't weaken because it's attacked. Truth is eternal. It is unmoved by slander, untouched by manipulation, unshaken by deception. It may be buried for a time, hidden beneath layers of lies, but it always rises. Because no matter how much darkness gathers, no matter how much confusion is spread, no matter how many voices try to suppress it, light always breaks through. History has proven this again and again. How many times have men and women been cast out, ridiculed, mocked, only for time to prove them right? How many have been labeled as troublemakers, only for their legacy to shape the world? Those who challenge the status quo, those who refuse to bow to deception, will always face resistance. But they are also the ones who stand the test of time. And let me tell you something. If you are facing opposition for standing in truth, you are not losing. You are being positioned. Positioned for something greater. Positioned for something unshakable. Because truth-tellers are always opposed, but they are never defeated. The same people who throw stones today will have to face the reality of their own deception tomorrow. The same voices that tried to silence you will one day have to acknowledge you were right all along. So don't bend, don't break, don't fall into the trap of trying to please those who have already chosen to misunderstand you. Stand firm, stand rooted, because what is built on truth cannot be moved. Drop "I stand on truth" in the comments if you know this is for you. Your foundation is unshakable, your calling is undeniable, and nothing formed against you will stand. Revealing truth is a process that cannot be rushed. Every false claim carries within it the seeds of its own destruction, unraveling under scrutiny. Lies are fragile things, requiring constant reinforcement to hold their shape. But contradictions inevitably surface. Those who weave deception must endlessly adjust their stories, exhausting themselves in the process. No deception can sustain itself indefinitely. Meanwhile, those who remain firm in integrity become a living contrast to the instability of deceit. While accusations scatter wildly, the one who stands in truth does not waver. Over time, this consistency becomes a force of exposure. As doubt spreads among those who once believed the falsehoods, they begin to see through the cracks in the illusion. The strength of one's character becomes its own defense, standing unshaken as deception crumbles under its own weight. The collapse of slander is not triggered by counterattacks, but by its own inability to hold up against time. The moment of reckoning arrives when the slanderer loses control of their narrative. Their desperation becomes evident as they attempt to hold onto a crumbling illusion. What once seemed convincing begins to unravel, their responses becoming erratic, laced with contradictions and excuses. Those who once echoed their words start questioning the shifting inconsistencies, sensing the fear behind the facade. At the same time, the stark difference between deception and truth becomes undeniable. While one side moves in chaos, the other remains steady. The contrast is too great to ignore. The shift in perception is not a battle won through retaliation, but through patience, as the weight of falsehood collapses under the force of authenticity. Those who sought to discredit are left with nothing, their influence fading into irrelevance as truth stands victorious. The moment arrives when no accusation, no distortion, no falsehood can overshadow the evidence of favor upon your life. Progress becomes undeniable. Doors swing open effortlessly and opportunities unfold in ways that defy expectation. The very things designed to break you become the stepping stones that lift you higher. Every attack, every whisper of doubt, every attempt to discredit you is met with an irrefutable response: growth, strength, and undeniable transformation. Endurance is its own testimony, proving that resilience outlasts every attempt to erase your presence. There is no need for defense when success speaks louder than words. Those who once questioned your path are now confronted with the truth they sought to suppress. What was meant to hinder you now stands as proof of your unwavering purpose. Even history bears witness to this principle. Those who were once dismissed, ridiculed, or underestimated rose beyond the limitations imposed on them. They did not demand recognition. They became impossible to ignore. The validation once withheld is now freely given, not because it was sought, but because truth can only be denied for so long. False narratives crumble under the weight of undeniable reality. Revelation is a process that unfolds with precision. No deception is sustainable. No manipulation is immune to exposure. Those who attempt to control the narrative find themselves ensnared by the very web they wove. The burden of maintaining falsehoods becomes too heavy. Contradictions emerge, and their own words betray them. The difference between deception and truth becomes glaring. While one scrambles to preserve a fragile illusion, the other stands firm, unshaken by fleeting opinions. Over time, even those who entertain slander begin to recognize the contrast. Actions reveal what words attempt to hide, and consistency speaks louder than any rumor. The elevation that follows is not simply restoration, it is expansion. Every barrier transforms into a gateway, every loss into preparation for greater things. Relationships that once faltered are strengthened, alliances once tested are refined, and new opportunities arise from places once inaccessible. The storm that was meant to break you only clears the path for greater heights. The collapse of deception is not an act of retaliation, but the natural consequence of falsehood meeting reality. Those who rely on manipulation are forced to confront their own downfall, watching as their influence withers. The same words used to harm you become the weight that pulls them into obscurity. But through it all, your focus remains forward. Energy is not wasted on those who sought to undermine you. Engaging in their chaos only fuels their illusions. Detachment is the weapon that renders them powerless. Boundaries are not just a defense, they are a declaration that not all voices deserve access to your energy. The journey ahead is not dictated by opposition, it is defined by purpose. Every obstacle faced becomes a testament to endurance, every delay a reminder that timing is being perfected. There is no dependence on external approval, no need for validation from those who doubted. What was written in your favor remains unshaken. Declare it now. No falsehood can block what is already destined. My purpose moves forward, untouched by deception. The power of your story extends beyond your own victory. It serves as a beacon for those still caught in uncertainty. Speak truth, not for those who refuse to see, but for those who need to hear it. The weight of resilience is undeniable, and your journey is proof that perseverance always triumphs.